Hello, everyone. I want to do a training on the prompt hierarchy. Many of you know this by the name of scaffolding. That's how I learned it in my education degree. So scaffolding makes it so that you can build a building or a structure, and then once you take that scaffolding away, it can stand on its own. And so the prompt hierarchy works the exact same way. We're going to prompt a student when they're learning a skill so that they can stand on their own eventually, and we can take the prompts away. I would say that's the main takeaway from today's training. So here's the prompt hierarchy. I think some of you have seen this in previous behavior tip emails, but we'll go over it just again for good measure. So full physical prompting is the most intrusive. So when we say most to least, that means we're starting most intrusive and going to the least. And this is the opposite. So what's prompting? Prompting is a technique used to help individuals learn new skills by providing assistance and cues to the learner. So you can either do that using a most to least method or a least to most method. Why use it? Because it's got a lot of research backing its effectiveness. We've got decades of research to show that, and it dates back to the 1980s, possibly longer. I didn't do, a super thorough research, but we've got a lot. So for example, Libby and colleagues in 2008 found that most to least prompting had better results when it had a delay added. So a delay is, for example, if you're telling them, what's 4 plus 4? You would just wait and count in your head. Maybe 3 seconds is your delay before prompting the correct answer. And then least to most is, it works really well for some students it doesn't. The only problem is that it allows for more errors, and they practice those errors, and so you're creating those neural pathways for the wrong response. So that usually we want to avoid it. So some tips for prompting. Overall, most to least has more research backing its effectiveness, and the only problem with it is that it can create prompt dependency. So prompt dependency is when a learner stops trying on their own and they just wait to be prompted. So to avoid prompt dependency, use delays. Wait before you give that prompt. And then you can plan for prompt fading, which means you're just always working up the hierarchy, working towards independency. So Glendenning, Adams, and Sternberg in 1983, they found that prompts using both the verbal and the physical prompting worked really well, and they would just fade out the physical prompt and leave the verbal prompt a little bit longer. When it says that it had higher rates of self-initiated responses, essentially that just means the learners were able to respond independently. Over here, if your learner acquires skills quickly, use least to most. There's no reason to go to most intrusive if they have a history of learning things quick. And then this study, Netzel and Wohler in 2009, they created an article that is a step-by-step guideline for implementing the prompt hierarchy. It's pretty useful, and it's in my references at the end of this presentation or training. So we're going to go through all of the prompts and kind of what they would look like in these two different examples so that you can kind of see how the prompts are faded. So in full physical, it's hand over hand, just like is shown in this picture. If you're teaching a learner to make a sandwich, you would hold their hands and do it kind of for them as you assemble the whole sandwich. If you're teaching them to ask for a break, you would physically put their hand on a break card and help them exchange it to the teacher or whatnot. If you don't have a break card, you can also use full physical prompting to do the sign for break. So partial physical means that you don't touch their whole hand. You're starting to fade the touch and lead with just parts of the body. So a good rule of thumb is the further away you are from holding their hand, the more that is a faded prompt, the more fading you've done. So elbow, shoulder, and back. So that's how you would do it with a sandwich. You would touch their elbow and kind of lead it towards the next item. With a break card, you can do the same thing, kind of lead their arm or their shoulder, say ask for a break, and then tap their shoulder or their wrist. In modeling, that just means you do it first and then you give them a chance to do it. So with the sandwich making, you can make the whole sandwich, say watch me, make the whole sandwich, and then say it's your turn. or you can just model one step at a time as well. With a break, model picking up the break card, handing it to the teacher, and getting that break. And then say, okay, your turn, you try, or whatever. Gestural is when you just point to the correct answer or the correct responding. So with our sandwich, you can point to, oh, and you're not able to see this picture. Here's a gestural prompt. So same thing with that. You could point to a picture or the next item. With the break card, same thing, point to the break card. I was going to say something else, but it wasn't related. Okay. So for verbal prompting and partial verbal prompting, you tell the learner what to say or do. And then when you're fading that to a partial verbal prompt, you're going to leave off a word from the sentence or leave off part of a word. So with our sandwich example, pick up the bread, put it on the plate. The way you fade that to a partial verbal is pick this up, or now pick up the. With the break, you can tell the learner, Megan, say, I need a break. In order to fade that, you can say to the learner, Megan, say, I need a, and you can even do, I need a brr, and let them kind of do that fill in the blank. Visual prompts is providing a picture or a symbol that provides that assistance. So with our sandwich, you can either put the item, the next item, in their line of sight, or you can hold up a picture of the ingredient or a knife or whatever. With our break example, you can hold up this picture, or kind of, I would say this is more of a gestural if you're modeling to ask for a break with sign language. So independent, this is when they have stopped needing your prompts and they are now doing it on their own. So the natural cue for making a sandwich would be, Megan, make a sandwich. Or if they're just hungry, that could be the natural cue as well. For the break, you can ask for a break. The learner asks for a break without any kind of prompting. So they just recognize that they're frustrated and they need a break, and they ask for it on their own. So this is a most to least example. As you can see, they're going to go through, I'm going to turn it down a little. They're going to go through the entire hand washing process with all full physical. Then here, they're using partial physical. You can see she's faded a little bit how she's touching. She's only touching her when she needs to. Here she's modeling how to do it. So she's going to model the whole hand washing and then give the learner a turn. And then they're going to move to verbal prompts and so forth until she's doing it independently. This is an example of least to most. So she gave her a chance to do it independently first. There's her visual cue and her verbal cue. So with least to most prompting, you're just going to go up or down the ladder or the pyramid until you get correct responding from the learner. So you may use multiple kinds of prompts in just one trial. I found this quote from McKay and colleagues in 2014. They said, it's widely accepted that prompts should be faded so that the response is occasioned by natural cues. In translation, you want to always move up that hierarchy of prompts so that they are responding independently. They do not need your help anymore. That is the whole purpose of using that scaffolding, so that they can, stand on their own. Our takeaway is prompts help learners acquire skills faster by helping them practice with accuracy and minimizing errors. Most to least prompting minimizes practicing errors, but it can also cause learned helplessness and prompt dependency. Generalization in the form of delaying prompts and fading to less intrusive prompts can combat prompt dependency. So delay your prompting, and it gives them a chance to answer independently first, and then fade that prompt until you're up to independent. The best way of learning about anything is by doing. and that's by Richard Branson. Here are my references. You're welcome to follow those. This is the one that has, no, it's right here. This is the one that has the step-by-step analysis of how to do the prompt hierarchy. All right, that's it. Thank you.